Hey guys, I'm Jax, and this is my spoiler-free review for the new Sam Raimi film, Send Help. Somehow, this is Sam Raimi's 17th film, which is absolutely crazy and insane. I didn't even realize until recently how many movies he's made. I've been on a massive binge of all his films. He's one of the greatest directors of all time. Evil Dead trilogy and Spider-Man trilogy, two of the greatest trilogies of all time. He is one of the great directors, and it's so good that he's not only making his 17th film, but it is, and this is even crazier and beautifully connected by the same number, 17 years since his last original Sam Raimi film. He's made a couple of big IPs in Oz the Great and the Powerful, which is, well, it's not great. And then, of course, Doctor Strange 2, which everybody hates, but I think is pretty fun. But this is him back making a Sam Raimi film. And oh boy, is it glorious and just so much fun to watch a Raimi film where he just Raimis all over the place. He has one of the most infectious and enjoyable and joyous styles. Every single thing he does is so creative and inventive and just has such a unique flavor and taste to his films. They are so gooey and gross, and he has a strange, mean-spirited nature to them, but with such a fun and colorful kind of flair to his mean-spiritedness, which makes his really gross, gory, far-out stuff kind of fun and silly, and it never gets too bogged down in the self-seriousness of it all. And this film is exactly that. Even though this isn't technically as Sam Raimi-ish as, say, a Drag Me to Hell, because it isn't written by Sam Raimi. Unlike most of his most Raimi films, this is written by the two guys who made Freddy vs. Jason, which I've heard a little bit of talk about, that's not a good credit to have. Like, people are like, ugh, it's written by the guy who made Freddy vs. Jason. That's a good thing. That's a great film. I am not afraid to say, I love Freddy vs. Jason.
How sweet. Dark meat.
Mostly. Even if this film isn't written by Sam Raimi, it is absolutely dripping in his gooey, gory, and gloriously unhinged sensibilities. It is just so fun to see someone who just loves making cinema and has such a fresh, unique flavor and taste to how they love telling movies and to tell stories. This film probably isn't as Raimi-ish and as gross and perverse and disgusting as it probably could be, and as some people might want, but I just find it so infectiously fun and really inspiring and just really exciting to watch a film where someone just kind of elevates it by just the way they make stories and the way they tell stories. There's a scene really early on where there's a fancy-pants son of a CEO who's now the CEO. He's the second main character, Mr. Maze Runner himself, and he's got a bit of tuna on his finger and he's really unhappy about it. And he's like, how did this tuna get here? And he's like, employee of mine, sniff this tuna. And the guy's like, I don't want to sniff that tuna. He's like, sniff the fucking tuna. And then we get maybe the most extreme close-up of a nostril you'll ever see in your entire life as this man is forced to sniff the tuna on this guy's finger. And it's like such an extreme close-up on a nostril. And I'm watching in VMAX, giant screen, giant cinema, and I'm like, I've never seen such a big nostril. And it was just such a powerful, beautiful, exciting little tidbit in a scene that just, it didn't need that. But now because of that, I'm so much more engaged in this movie. And I'm just so excited that Sam Raimi's making another film. And I just feel like from then on, I just knew I was in safe hands. I just knew I'm in safe, warm, gooey hands. The hands of Sam Raimi. And so I'm probably just going to keep talking about how much I love Sam Raimi, but I should mention the plot or whatever. It is about Rachel McAdams, who plays a disgusting, horrible cat lady woman who works really, really hard at her work and no one appreciates her, particularly her new boss, Mr. Maze Runner, Dylan O'Brien. He's Mr. Maze Runner and he's fantastic in everything, and he's fantastic in this. They're both exceptional. It's essentially a one-two-hander kind of situation. It's almost like a play where there's just two characters in this movie and they go on a trip. He's the new boss. He's the son of the CEO. The CEO's died. Now he's the CEO. He hates her, but they go on a trip because she's going to fix all his work because she does everything for the company. He wants to fire her. Plane crashes. Boom. They're stuck on a deserted island. It's essentially if Misery and Castaway had a baby, but that baby was like cursed by a witch from a Sam Raimi film. So the baby's all like gooey and pussy and shit, and you're just like, ugh, I don't want to touch that baby. But that baby is the baby of two fantastic films in Misery and Castaway. But still, I don't want to touch the baby because it looks really gross. And so that's the film. It is just them stuck on an island, and maybe the power dynamic shifts. And maybe this absolutely overachieving, hardworking person who's never treated well and is completely downtrodden on is capable and does really well in this environment. And maybe the son of a CEO who's never had to lift a finger in his life has absolutely no skills and has no idea what to do. And it says stuff about workplace dynamics, power dynamics, all that stuff. I mean, obviously, you can just understand what the film's going to be saying and doing with all those things. And so with a film like this, that kind of could be more of a self-serious thriller, like, oh no, they're stuck on an island, they're doing a big Lost, how do they escape, what do they do, how do they survive? And it doesn't really go down that route. It kind of is a little bit more playful. It's a little bit more infectiously silly and fun. It plays more like a horror comedy, really focusing on the comedy for a lot of it. And something that really did surprise me is whilst there is a bunch of gore at little particular moments, mostly it's kind of just like a character study. Like watching these two characters and how they play off each other, how they grow and adapt and change in this environment. And it really spends a lot of time with these two characters. And what comes from that is, and this is saying a lot considering the movies that particularly Rachel McAdams is, potentially career best performances. Like, I know that's crazy, especially for Rachel McAdams. And Mr. Maze Runner, he was in Maze Runner 2, The Scorched Trials, and Maze Runner 3, Death Pyramid? But genuinely, I was so just like blown away by the performances. I'll start with Rachel McAdams because she's kind of the star. She kind of gets the more exciting, juicy stuff. The first 15 minutes before they get on the plane, it was just crazy to me. It's a combination of the directing and her performance, but also the makeup artist. The makeup artist in this film needs to get a fucking raise. Like, I never talk Oscars, ever, ever, ever. This makeup artist needs to get the Oscar, no matter what happens. Forget Colin Farrell's The Penguin. That is amateur work. This film, I don't know what they did, but for at least 15-20 minutes at the start of this movie, Rachel McAdams, like, this film tricked me into thinking Rachel McAdams was a disgusting, horrible, sad, pathetic cat lady. Well, she's a bird lady in this, but the idea is a cat lady. This just horrible, just, her trying to interact with her co-workers while she's eating a tuna sandwich and like wanting to come to karaoke with them. She was just so pastily and greasy and just so bloated, and like there was just so much red and white on her face. She just looked so sweaty and uncomfortable and just frantic and awful. It made me uncomfortable. She looked disgusting. It was incredible. It was such good makeup and acting and all the things. It blew me away. She just dives into this role. I found it so uncomfortable. Like I was cringing at there were gory, cringy moments in this film, but the most I cringed and went, oh, I can't look at the screen, was her trying to go to karaoke with friends as eating a tuna sandwich. And when I say friends, I mean people she works with. Work associates at best. She was so good in the role. You get a twinge of kind of tragedy and sadness to the character, but she was just playing it so heightened and so just diving into this role. I found it stressful to watch. I was just like, please, could you be slightly more normal? You're freaking everyone out. And you're freaking me out, quite frankly. And it's just so crazy because usually, I would say, the first thing that comes to mind when I think of Rachel McAdams is just effortlessly likable and charismatic and charming and nice. And I know she's super, super famous. And that is mostly where I know her from in Mean Girls, in which she is a mean girl. But every other role I've seen her in, she just seems so nice. And in this, just frantic mayhem and unhinged chaos. And it was just, I'm like, you gotta dial it down, man. You're really freaking me out. So there's her just playing absolutely against type, and it's just incredible. And then you got Dylan O'Brien, who once again, like Rachel McAdams, is effortlessly charming, so likable and fun and nice. He just seems like a nice, good boy. In this film, oh my god, you want to punch him in the fucking face so quickly. Within 5 seconds, I'm like, ugh, he's so smug. And you just know that he's talentless smug because he's the son of a CEO who's now the CEO because his dad died. And just you could smell them both. The aromas they were both producing in this scenes before the plane crash is horrifying. It was incredible. Such good acting and directing and writing and everything. It was just extreme and intense. I loved it so very much. And then as soon as the plane crashes, it just completely devolves. And I love it. The Rachel McAdams, this isn't a spoiler, she, very early on in the first 5 minutes, you find out she's a massive fan of Survivor. Like, uber fan. Like, she watches Survivor every night with her bird, and she just loves it. So obviously she's got some skills and she's a little bit more capable. And throughout the film, usually when a character slowly goes a little bit crazy and a little bit unhinged and like the power dynamics shift and she's in control and all this stuff that plays through the film, usually they start to kind of look worse throughout a film. Whereas in this, because she looks so horrible at the start, and she starts to get a tan really early on because she's at the beach, by like 20, 30 minutes in, she just looks gorgeous and beautiful and tanned, and just, it's a really interesting kind of visual like switcheroo and kind of arc that she goes on that's usually the opposite in films. Whereas Dylan O'Brien, he sucks. He sucks in this, and he sucks. And it's just so interesting to see them play off each other like this. I thought it was so good. Rachel McAdams is so fucking funny in this. There are so many good moments. Just just joyously funny, unhinged, wild mayhem. And I really enjoyed it. And I thought the third act was crazy. There was like 3 or 4 twists and turns that I genuinely didn't see coming. Would never have guessed them. Would never have even occurred to me. And it's just such good twists. Like, honestly, M. Night Shyamalan levels twist. Like, M. Night Shyamalan will watch this film and be like, fuck, I've got to reshape my new movie and put a better twist in. Because it's so not, like, you just won't see it coming. And even knowing there's a twist, it's just gonna completely go from your mind. Because it's so crazy and left of field, but in the way that just totally works. It's really, really good. Honestly, maybe my only real issue would be I kind of wanted a little bit more gore and kind of gross mayhem, because there's a couple of scenes of the boar sequence that's really fucked. But outside of that, maybe not as gory as I was thinking it was going to be, but I was really surprised by just how good the performances are, how good their dynamic is, and as it shifts and swings up and down, a big roller coaster of emotions. It's just really, really good. And the last 15 minutes is fucking unhinged mayhem. And I loved it so much. Really took me by surprise. I'm so happy the new Sam Raimi film is this good, because my expectations were pretty high, but I was also like, I don't know, 2 people stranded on an island and, you know, one's the boss and one's not. And maybe one's going to become the boss on the island or whatever. It didn't really, I wasn't super like keen on the concept, but I feel like the way this film plays out tackles that concept in lots of really fun, interesting ways. It's really, really good. Overall, I thought this was absolutely delightful and was probably be in the top 10 of Sam Raimi's films, but it's pretty hard to get right up in the top of his list because as I've started watching all his films and doing his rankings, nothing's coming close to the top 6, which is all Spider-Man, all Evil Dead. So you're getting in that bottom top 10 level. You're doing well. Thanks for watching, guys. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and comment below. I would love to know what you think of Send Help.